Hello and welcome. This is a video tutorial brought to you by Program and Learning K-12. This video focuses on implementation and targeted instruction with the Grade 3-4 Leaps and Bounds diagnostic. More specifically, it will outline the how and why for educators. If you are looking for more of a general overview of this resource, please refer back to the overview video offered in this series, Grades 3 to 8. As you go through the video, it is important that you have both the teacher resource book and the accompanying binder of Student Resource Blackline Masters. Let's suppose that during math instructional time in my grade 4 classroom, we have been working on representing, comparing, and ordering whole numbers to 10,000. As an educator, you're noticing over the course of the last few weeks, some of your students are struggling with math content that most other students seem to understand. As an educator, you are curious to know if these struggling students need more support for them to access the grade 4 curriculum. You decide that you'll use a Leaps and Bounds diagnostic to gain more information about your struggling students so that you can target intervention in a small group setting. The first step is to access the Grade 3-4 Teacher Resource Book and find the specific subtopic located within the strand you are working in. For the purposes of this video, we will target students struggling in number sense and numeration in the subtopic of comparing and ordering whole numbers. As a next step, it is suggested that you go directly to the topic overview on page 36 and 37. Since you might be using this resource for the first time, it's important to look at the topic overview as it has many pieces that will help you after you have administered the diagnostic. The overview on page 36 and 37 will highlight curricular connections, outline why students may be struggling with this concept, and will give you explicit instructions on how to conduct the diagnostic, as well as any additional materials such as common manipulatives or tools. After administering this diagnostic, it will be important to revisit these pages to use the diagnostic tool results in order to implement appropriate intervention activities. After familiarizing yourself with these pages, you are ready to head to the diagnostic tool on page 38. The diagnostic tool for Leaps and Bounds will help you get a more detailed picture of students' understanding. For this diagnostic, you'll need to copy pages 38 and 39. You may have students complete the questions independently in writing, or you may want to read the questions and have students respond orally. While conducting diagnostics orally with students, it is understandable that the educator will want to take this opportunity to have teachable moments and address diagnostic questions further, but it's important to stay focused only on the intervention questions and students' initial response, knowing that the teachable moments will come after the diagnostic, once appropriate targeted intervention has been identified. After using the solutions and key to pathways on page 40 and 41, refer back to the topic overview on page 36 and 37. The table on page 37 will guide you in determining if a gap-closing intervention is needed in this subtopic and which particular pathway intervention you should focus on. For the purposes of this tutorial, we will assume that the student has struggled with questions 1D to E, 2C and D, and 4C and D, and a pathway 2 intervention is appropriate. I can now turn to page 44 and 45 in the teacher's resource to view, choose, and plan for a targeted gap closing activity. Having determined which pathway is most suitable, the teacher has another choice to make. That is, whether to use a more open approach, the open-ended intervention, or a more guided approach, the guided intervention. Thus, the instructional approach can be individualized and differentiated. The two types of intervention cover the same content but in different ways. The open-ended interventions typically provide a brief introduction with minimal instruction, often in a context, followed by a problem to solve or a task that has multiple possible solutions. It allows students who prefer exploring in their own way an opportunity to do so. The guided interventions begin with an instructional section, followed by try these questions that are sequenced to guide the student through the content in a more deliberate way. This suits students who prefer more direction, although a variety of strategies for doing the math are still explored. The teacher can choose the intervention that is more suitable for the student's needs or style and most appropriate for his or her specific learning situation. When students have completed their work with the student resource pages, bring out and consolidate the key ideas from the intervention. Use the questions in the consolidation and reflection section of the teacher's resource, adapted with examples from students' work, page 44 and 45. During consolidation, teachers and students ask questions that help to summarize the mathematical ideas embedded in the intervention. Consolidation supports students in establishing explicit connections between math concepts. The questions that are asked are essential to unraveling student mathematical thinking. Leaps and Bounds is a Tier 2 intervention that addresses gaps that students may have when they are not successful with grade-appropriate curricular expectations. The intervention activities are designed to support small group or individual instruction so that gaps are addressed in particular strands or subtopics. Closing learning gaps through targeted guided instruction is not an easy task, but an imperative one. Too often, struggling students fall further and further behind because their lack of understanding of prior content prevents them from learning new material. This is a very difficult cycle to break. But by devoting regular instructional time to reviewing and remediating past material, and by altering the ways that the new material is presented so that it's more approachable for struggling students, we can increase the chances that these students will gradually find a more stable foothold in math and begin the difficult climb back to full understanding. Thank you.